We are back with more Unraveling Toxic Masculinity. We're going to continue looking at a few more of these videos and responding to them in turn, just to see how terrible these people are.
Women are far pickier when it comes to looks than men are. Y'all are way more picky and selective when it comes to looks than men.
Well, I don't want an ugly.
Are we? Are women really more pickier than men when it comes to things? I mean, no, because y'all are on here wanting 18-year-old virgins who are not fat, right? This is what they want. They want 18-year-old virgins who are not fat. Now this one, we don't want an ugly baby. Well, I've seen some ugly couples with some cute babies. And I've seen some cute couples with ugly babies. So the idea that you somehow are going to avoid an ugly baby by marrying somebody that's, attractive, well, that's a silly comment on her part. Let's just put it that way. So let's move on to see what else these geniuses have to say.
Baby.
Like, women are far more superficial too when it comes to looks. A lot of the things that you guys care about when it comes to looks are totally out of men's control. For example, height.
Height. We've talked a little about this before. My wife, if you ask my wife, if you say, okay, I have a crush, if she's like, I like that celebrity, I like that celebrity, I like that celebrity, like Brendan Fraser, Travis Kelce, a lot of other people that are out there who are celebrities who she's like, I like these people. They're all 6'3". She has a thing about 6'3" guys. Guys that are 6'3" are part of her thing that she likes, I suppose. Am I 6'3"? No. So just because you like somebody who's 6'3", it doesn't mean that you are only going to date people that are 6'3". But when you're so obsessed like these guys are and make big deal out of everything, then they might just use it as an excuse. You're not 6'3", get away from me, just to not have to deal with your dumb asses.
100% out of men's control. And a lot of women here be sitting here wanting a guy who's 6 feet plus. You don't want to...
I said 6 feet plus. So I guess I make the cut because I'm 6 feet. But, again, it's not a thing that's to cry about. Oh, I like guys that are tall. Okay, well, it's a lot of people that like guys that are tall end up not marrying guys that are as tall as they might have liked. It happens.
A guy who's balding, most of you, especially if you're young. That's totally
I don't
out
want
of
a
men's
guy that's
control.
balding.
And then,
well, first of all, you can go to the hair club for men. Second of all, y'all want 18-year-olds. Maybe if y'all dated your own age, or considered women who were, out of college, maybe you might find some people who have no problem with thinning or receding hairlines or what have you. But just because, there are people who are young tend to probably want younger looking people, because youthful people a lot of times are attracted to other youthful people. There's exceptions, sure, but if you're a youthful person, you're in college, you're trying to date around in college, you're probably not going to be looking at, some older dude unless that's your thing. But if that's your thing, fine too, whatever, I don't care. But still. Oh,
penis size, totally out of men's control.
I mean, but your problem is these people are leading with the penis. So if you're throwing yourselves at women, at prospective partners, and treating it as if it's going to be a sexual-based relationship, then sure, they're going to care about penis size. But, I mean, most people eventually don't. Some very well might, and that's fine too, if that's what they want. But you don't have a right to their bodies. You don't have a right to have a relationship with them either.
But y'all want a guy with a big... So y'all will judge men very harshly on things that are totally out of men's control. But the one thing that we judge women harshly on, weight, is 100% in your control. Women are...
And here we go. This is the reason why I had this one specifically. Because earlier, we were talking about how weight isn't necessarily under people's control. Tonight, there are medical blocks. People, like, there are rules in insurance that make it harder for people to get the help that they need to lose weight. But even then, it's not necessarily always in their control. People can have thyroid issues that can affect their weight. People can have other medical issues that block the weight. I've talked on this show about the fact that there is a high correlation between people who are victims of childhood abuse and people who are morbidly obese. You're more likely to be morbidly obese, I think doubly so, if you were abused as a child. So if your coping mechanisms as a child was to eat a bunch of candies and chocolate and sugar and blah, 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 to deal with the pain that came with being abused, then I'm not going to blame such a person for being a victim of abuse. And you shouldn't either. But here you are. You care about weight, but weight is, again, not always in an individual's control. So I should just make you hypocrite of the week, but I don't know. Maybe you're not big enough to qualify for that. Come back to this one.
And you're 7'5"?
I said 8.
How did you come to that value judgment?
Because I know my value, I know my worth, and I know my beauty that I hold within myself for myself, and that is appreciated by other people. Because at the end of the day, beauty is subjective.
Preach. Beauty is subjective. What I find attractive may not be what you find attractive. And a lot of the times, a lot of these incel MGTOW types aren't really honest about who or what they are attracted to when it comes to, things pertaining to people's bodies and how they look. There are plenty of people who probably watch this podcast who will look at her and say, I'd hit it or whatever, and they would have no problem with her. There are plenty of people who don't take into consideration looks. There are people who are demisexual who have, conversation, need a conversation, need a connection on a mental level to be able to click with somebody, and the physicality, the looks physically aren't going to matter as much. There are people who are not going to be attracted to this young woman, and that's every right for them to not be attracted to this individual or any other individual on the panel, because nobody should force you to be guilted into dating anybody. That being said, just don't be mean about it. Don't be cruel about it. If she feels that she's a beautiful young woman, then good, you're a beautiful young woman. Other people may disagree with you. She may be the sweetest, nicest person in the world, and you don't care. And that's the thing, is that if you had some incel big guy, like some guy as large as me, on here, complaining about, you'd be like, it's unfair that he can't have sex because y'all look at him like he's fat and you're judging him based on that. But yet you're judging her by her weight too. It's bullshit.
And like I said, my fatness doesn't devalue me.
Why?
So I'm
Preach. Your fatness does not devalue you. And he's like, why? Well, you're a slovenly troll yourself there, Mr. I'm a woodsman wannabe in your flannel shirt and your beard that, is mostly kept, maybe, I don't know, but why? Like, so you don't think she's an 8? Maybe you think she's a 2.8. Who cares? Other people are attracted to this young woman and would be happy to date her. If you're not one of those people, shut up about it.
Why is it that your own assessment of your looks has nothing to do with how the external world perceives you?
Because the external world is BS, and there's standards of beauty that are not realistic, but yet people like y'all will perpetuate and ignore that there are plenty other people who are going to look at this young woman and be like, yeah, I'd date her, I'd have no problem dating her. No problem whatsoever.
Have been pursued by many men who think I am gorgeous and beautiful. That perception exists whether you have it or not. And
mic drop again, because she's owning these whatever folks. Because yes, they have every right. Anybody on that panel, Brian or whoever this new schmuck is, I'm sure he's not new to the podcast, but I could already tell he's a schmuck. Anybody on this panel has every right to not date this young woman. And you can date whoever you wish as long as they wish to date you back. Do you? They might not be able to understand why people might find this. Maybe somebody finds this young woman attractive because they just like curves. Maybe they like a thick woman. there are people who are specifically attracted to like SSBBW or supersized BBW. They like larger women. That's what they like. Why? I've always dated thick girls. I've always dated women with curves. Like, I've dated some people that are skinny too. I was never prejudiced about it, but again, my sexual desires have nothing to do with anybody else's sexual desires. But this guy can't handle it. Somehow harms these people for them to hear that somebody has a high self-esteem, and that and all they have to, because their high self-esteem breaks their worldview. This guy feels it's his responsibility to tear hers down. And that's what makes him a scumbag. So if you're rating people on personality, I'd give her a 10. I'd give him a -2.
Guess what? I'll never be the only one who thinks I'm hot, and I know that bugs the out of you.
I mean, what is truth in a world that you're an 8?
And what societal standards in which country?
I must
in
bug the
every
shit
country
out of
on planet Earth, she's not an 8.
Just because, again, he can't see why people would be attracted to her doesn't make her beliefs about her self-beauty nor the beliefs of anybody else who would date her any less valid. But he feels like he needs to, shut her down and make. But these people, these guys on these podcasts, feel like they have to bring down everybody because that's the only way they retain control.
You're ridiculous.
But to be fair, also, it's interesting to claim to be so religious and so close to Jesus and be so negative.
To tell the truth?
No, I'm just saying, just to be so
What would
negative.
Jesus do? He'd be like, you're a 10, sweetheart.
Jesus would probably. I'm actually having a conversation with some people, with a newly converted friend of mine on the internet, and I was like, you're not supposed to be judging people, dude. That's not your position. That's not what your Bible says. And they couldn't handle it. So, yeah, this guy is definitely not acting in a way that Jesus would have been. You never know. Maybe Jesus would have tapped that ass too. Never know.
But I think that regrets are necessary for us to move forward in life. You should look on some of the things you've done in life in a negative way for yourself.
Some people might regret watching the whatever podcast after listening to this guy bloviate for minutes.
And negatively view yourself for having done those things, and that's the only way to reconcile and to move on from them.
And I definitely disagree in that. I was raised really, really religious, and I know that that's part of the religious standpoint is that sins.
There is absolution, right? But absolution comes with the confrontation that the thing you did was wrong. And it should never be repeated, and it was wrong.
For sure, but acknowledging something is wrong and regret are not necessarily the same thing.
How do you know it's wrong if you don't regret it?
Easy. You could be like, yeah, I should have done this before, but I'm not going to regret the decision I made in the past. There you go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. This guy is not a very strong, does not have very strong mental acuity. Let's just put it that way. Let's go to the last video. And again, if you're watching on Blog Talk Radio,
any young women who are considering getting any sort of plastic surgery, I want you guys to know that there are plenty of men out there that will think you're beautiful and love you and find you sexy and attractive without the need to undergo dangerous, expensive, unnecessary cosmetic surgery.
Unless you're fat. Then they're not going to find you beautiful because we just saw them berating people for being fat. But anything else that you want to have plastic surgery with, they're like, no, be your natural self. Until they actually see the natural selves, and then they'll be like, well, not you. We weren't talking about you. We're just talking about other people. We're talking about the hot ones or whatever. And of course, there we go. They have the woman with that weird hat back in the corner and not talking again. But
what we need to do is take back the culture and embolden women to see their innate beauty.
Women need to just travel to other countries because you go to Europe, those guys, very little makeup is desirable, no plastic surgery.
Any young women who are considering.
But this is all about body autonomy, though. If somebody wants to have a procedure and they can afford the procedure, there's nothing wrong with them having the procedure either. Like, this is the one time where maybe they're sort of sounding like they're trying to be positive, but if you took this video in a vacuum, you might think to yourself, oh, these guys aren't so bad. They're advocating that people should embrace their natural selves. Well, the last video where somebody was embracing her natural self and believing herself that she was beautiful, she was told, nah, you can't feel that way about yourself because you're fat. So no, I call shenanigans on all this attempts to being potentially wholesome, because you're not. This is not a wholesome video series that we're responding to right here. These people are toxic AF, and that's why we've added them into Unraveling Toxic Masculinity. Again, what are your thoughts? Leave them below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share other videos with your friends, get the algorithms going, and have a good day.